This is another Coffee and Conquest. This is a recap of our earlier meeting this week. As you know, we have one every Wednesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time to share best practices. If you have interest, let me know. Send an email out to rick@rickwise.com or call me at 404-217-2233 so you can get an invite. And a quick reminder, a recap, you see this on the screen. It's kind of a thought as we go forward for the new month, is that our customers' jobs are not to remember us. It's our job really to make such an impression that they'll never forget us. And that falls hand in hand with what we're talking about or had talked about, which is the BDC. Conversation was using the BDC in a hybrid format, which some of you are already doing, and that is have the BDC and the sales department work closer together. The idea is the BDC department is responsible for taking the incoming phone calls, the incoming emails, the text messaging, anything that's inbound to the dealership, ideally to respond to these leads immediately. And we do mean immediately, to engage that lead, let's call them a prospect, engage that prospect and set an appointment to bring them into the store. There's going to be some occasions where that lead or that prospect will want to engage with some questions about pricing, trade value, or whatever it might be. And at that point, that lead is transferred over to a salesperson. But our salespeople, being how they are and what they are and seeking to make a deal immediately, have a tendency not to follow up with leads. So if they're not able to successfully set the appointment during that engagement period, that conversation, they revert the lead back to the BDC, and together the BDC and the sales department work together to follow up with that lead to get them to the front door. That's really the gist of this. If we do that, then how do we measure the success? Quickly, for the BDC, we look at the contact rate. For every lead that comes in, we track and see how many of these leads our BDC was actually able to engage in a conversation, either by email, text, or phone call. Knowing that by phone, it takes typically just around 4 phone calls to get a hold of them. We don't want this to be a one and done. We want to look at the conversion rate, how many of the leads they've actually engaged that resulted in a sale with a salesperson, and the time that our BDC spent with these leads on the phone. There's different thoughts about this, and that's another discussion, but we want to make sure they're actively engaged with this lead on the phone, setting an appointment, answering some basic questions. If it's a service lead, then, of course, setting an appointment for the service department. As a measuring tool, what you'll see on the screen right now is a list of things that traditionally we use to measure the BDC. And that runs anywhere from the average response time to respond to the lead, the number of days it takes to close the lead, the number of leads we get in per month, the number of appointments we're able to set per month, the number of appointments that actually shown, and the number of shown appointments that actually close. And that is directed completely, that's 100% directed to the success factor of the BDC and the BDC rep and manager. If we have a BDC rep, how many leads can they work a month? Well, the industry is saying right now right around 150 new leads per month, and that still leaves them time to work 300 plus leads, from the prior months following up. If you have someone who's very good in the BDC, that might be at 200 or 250. But this is a good tool to use to determine how many people you need in the BDC. For our salespeople, this is the basics. Do our salespeople follow the road to the sale? Are they able to get repeat business from their previous customers, or do they burn each of their opportunities? Does our salespeople have the complete picture of what we do as a dealership and our vision and the approach that we take, and are they progressing? Every month do we see that they're getting better in their skill, in their trade, in their presentation, and overcoming objections? Do we have an ongoing training program for them that reflects that progress? And do they have a passion for the business? Do they have a passion? They're still a student of the industry. And, of course, do they have a pipeline? Which means, do they have appointments for today? Do they have appointments for tomorrow? Do they have appointments for next week? Do we take a look at their calendar and see that they have filled up their calendar? These are all baselines that we should be measuring to determine the success of our salespeople. Once we have all of this, then, of course, we address the question about our written process. First of all, do we have a written process? Is it in print? Does it cover every possible scenario as much as possible? Has it been trained? Does management, sales, and BDC know what our process is? Have they signed off on the process? And do we pull out that process every so often and retrain on it? And do all this for this screenshot here. We do all of this to get at least this type of baseline result. Every unique visitor we get to our website, our Facebook page, and other platforms, are we getting about a 5 to 10% engagement? And that could be from the internet, or that could be from the phone, or walking in. Can we even track this? Or do we even have the ability at this point to track this and know if it's happening or not? That's a baseline. Once we have a quality lead and we identify a lead as a quality lead, are we closing at 20 to 25%? Think about it. The internet is our new showroom. The phone is our new showroom. If someone walks in the front door, we have a group of people that walk in through the front door, and we're measuring the performance of a salesperson, don't we look at them having at least a 20 to 25% close rate with their showroom traffic? It should be the same with the phone and internet if it's a qualified lead. So here's the challenge. If what you're measuring right now is under 10%, let's say if even it's closer to 5%, let's readdress our processes. Let's look at our training. Let's look at what we're doing so we can get that push to at least past 15%. If we have all this in place, then we can, in fact, truly set up a meeting for the new month and set our objectives and share with our sales team what we're going to hit for the target number of sales and be expected to hit that target. We share with them the marketing we're going to do, the email campaigns we're going to do, the social media campaigns. We're going to share with them what we're doing with service conversions and how we're setting the appointments. And we can actually use a spreadsheet and chart out each salesperson, each BDC, on how many sales they should have and back it up based on their current trending, because we're tracking their trending, how many appointments they should have to get to the number of sales, how many set appointments they should have based on their ratio to get them into the front door, which leads to how many ups, how many handshakes they should be making to get to their number. And if we've done this correctly, they will hit their number, because at the end of the day, all this is a numbers game. Again, as we've discussed, if all of this is in place and being used, perfect. If there's any kink in the system that doesn't mirror what we just talked about, would you be open to having a boot camp seminar in your store? This is internal. You just do it internally. You meet with your management team. You write out your entire process. You get their feedback. You get their buy-in. Everyone signs off on it. Then you sit down with the sales and BDC team and share with them the process. You get their feedback to make any adjustments that are necessary. You put it in print. Everyone signs off on it, and they're trained. A boot camp seminar isn't a pain in the backside. Yes, it is, but it creates your standard operating procedure. And if you have a standard operating procedure, you're going to hit your numbers every single time. Okay? That's the recap of the meeting that we had earlier. As always, you can reach me at 404-217-2233. Our Coffee and Conquest series does continue. It's every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Sometimes it's a one-on-one. Sometimes we have as many as 20 or 30 of you on the call. It's no more than 20 minutes. Go out and make it a great